welcome to another Thursday midweek service. I want to say hi, good evening to everyone who is joining us today, but I also want to welcome those people who are gonna watch this later. I am so glad you're here with us again. I am Natanya, I'm the campus minister here in Every Nation Campus Ghent, and basically that just means I work with students. And well, that's kind of perfect because I love studying and I love working with students as well. I learn so much from you guys. Now, today, as you can see, today on Sunday, I put up my Christmas tree and I'm super happy because even though we are still on lockdown, we didn't get a lot of good news around Christmas and New Year's, and it's gonna look a lot different this year. But it just brings so much coziness, doesn't it? Or at least that's what I think. So that's one of the things that makes me happy this season. And when we start today, I want to ask you, it's starting, what is one thing that has made you happy this week? Drop it in the comments, let us know. I would love to hear what has made you smile. Now, for me, that's this Christmas tree, and it's right in the living room, which is also my office. So it is just amazing to sit here the entire day. Now, with that said, I hope you are doing well. Today, we are going to look at our fifth sermon or fifth talk on our God's Not Dead series. And basically, over the last 5 weeks, we've been looking into, is God dead? And we've looked into different questions like, is God just an illusion? If God is good, where does coronavirus come from? Why is there something rather than nothing? And then last week, we looked into if Jesus is actually a man, myth, or if he's actually who he claims he is, aka the Messiah. Now, if you've missed those ones, we have a playlist on our YouTube channel, so go check them out. There is lots of information on there. This week, we're actually going to handle the question of how can we know that Jesus is the only way, and how can we be sure that there's only one way to God? Is there any evidence or proof for that? So we're going to look into that today. And just as last week, we're going to have a guest speaker, and he is an acquaintance of mine. He is a colleague of mine, but he actually works in Poland, and he is the pastor, the senior pastor over there. His name is Przemek Sielatycki. It's hard to pronounce, but his name is Przemek. And if you've met him in one of our conferences, the guy is amazing, and he has a very sharp mind, but a very interesting perspective on today's topic, and a story to share with us as well of how this specific topic has actually been a question for him for a whole season in his life. Now, I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. So let's go, let's watch it, and I'll see you after.
Hello everybody, my name is Przemek Sielatycki. I'm speaking to you from Kraków, Poland. I was asked today to talk to you about how is Jesus the only way. So before I get into that, I want to introduce myself a little bit, because you probably have a question, why should I pay attention to a guy I don't know with a lockdown hairdo, with a strong Slavic accent? Well, in 2014, I have gone through a serious crisis of faith. The crisis actually touched every sphere of my life, bar finances. It was emotional, relational, it touched my health. I landed in hospital for a week. I remember praying at that time, God, if you are really that good as I hear, and you exist, then you can catch me as I walk away. For the next period of my life, I tried to live as a non-Christian while still serving as a pastor. I do not recommend this way of life. Don't do it at home, kids. I lasted almost 2 full weeks. I remember sitting down and pondering, whatever I do, it doesn't matter what I do in my life. Whatever I do, it will cost me. Because life is painful and life is costly. What is real then? Because if I am to pay, I want to pay for things that matter, that are real. Well, this started me on a journey of questioning. Now, 6 years later, I would consider myself more committed, consciously believing Christian than I had ever been before the crisis. I figured that whatever frame of understanding reality is true among all possible frames of understanding the reality, uh, that frame, that worldview, that religion shouldn't be afraid of doubting and questioning. And I found that, oddly enough, Christianity is most welcoming to doubters and most resilient to questions. Maybe, maybe answers I walk away with are not comprehensive, not always, but they make most sense rationally, emotionally, and culturally. So, what I'm going to talk to you about today is not only an abstract thing to think for a moment for the kick of it. It is so important to me that I am shaping my life around this one claim that there is God, there is a way to know Him, and that way exclusively is Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Now that I have just made that claim, don't walk away. Let me explain myself. And let me also explain what is my ambition for this talk. I do not expect you walking away agreeing with me. Topic is too complicated and too complex for one 20 something minute long session to explain everything. But it is my desire and my ambition that you walk away thinking, this actually makes sense. Let me therefore dig deeper. We need to probably start with the main hero of this talk today, the one of the most troubling, off-putting claims of Christianity, at least for skeptics. There is this one verse in the Bible that many skeptics find controversial, off-putting, very exclusive. It is found in the Gospel of John in chapter 14, verse 6. And here's how it reads in the ESV translation. Jesus said to them, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. Well, it is off-putting partly because of our pluralistic framework of understanding reality. When I say pluralism, it's a difficult word. It might mean many things. There's a philosophical pluralism, there's a political pluralism. What does it mean in case of religion? It would mean, if you are pluralistic in religion, it would mean that you would view and accept all religions as religious paths that are equally valid, and you would be promoting coexistence, equal coexistence of all religions. Well, there's a really well-known illustration used quite often by the proponents of this view, and it's an elephant illustration. It goes like this. Imagine there's a room and there's an elephant in this room, and there are four blind men who discover that elephant. Well, since the men have never encountered an elephant, they grope about, seeking to understand and describe this new phenomenon. One grasps the trunk and concludes it is a snake. It feels like a snake, it's similar to a snake, it probably is a snake. Another explores one of the elephant's legs and describes it as a tree. A third finds an elephant's tail and announces, I found a rope. And the fourth blind man after discovering the elephant's side, concludes that it is, after all, a wall. Well, this is quite powerful and a provocative image, and it certainly seems to capture something of the truth. Uh, if God is infinite and you and I are finite, well, it is reasonable to believe that none of us can fully capture his nature. You might have a bit of revelation, I might have another one. Nobody has a full grasp of that huge concept or a person or a thing that God is. Well, there's a need for the fifth man in this illustration claiming to see the whole thing, namely the elephant. There are a few challenges with this illustration, though. It looks like if this illustration explains anything, is that all religions are equally false rather than that all religions are equally valid. Remember those four blind men? One claims, I found a snake. He doesn't know he found an element, a part of something larger. He claims he found a snake. Another claims, I found a rope. They're all mistaken. The first guy didn't find a snake, and the other guy didn't find a rope. So, Christians are very often accused of being arrogant by claiming Christianity is the only way to find true, real God. But is it really arrogant? I don't think it is arrogant claiming that my source, my revelation, makes more sense than yours. Because if you come to a Christian person and you say, you're arrogant, nobody has truth, it's like with that elephant. What you're claiming is that we're all blind, but you know, what I'm claiming to be a snake is just a trunk. What Muslims claim to be a rope is just a tail. But you're the one who claims to have the full revelation. You're not one of the four blind men in the room. You're the guy with a clear 20/20 vision who sees the full picture and says, I know what God is. You're wrong, you've got a part of reality, you've got a part of reality, I've got a full view of reality. Which is more arrogant? You might react at this point and say, Przemek, I've got a bit of an issue with revelation being treated as a valid way to gain truth. What can be tested in a lab, what can be touched, measured, that is truth. But there's a problem with that claim also, because if God exists and is transcendent, by transcendent I mean he is beyond creation. He's not part of it. He is the main cause of creation. If God is transcendent, then there's no way to measure him or to find him in a lab. The only way we can know anything about him is if he tells us about it. Therefore, the only way to know anything about God is by revelation. Then we've got a challenge, because there are many sources to claim that have revelatory powers. And they say, I am the true source of revelation about God. Muslims claim that. Buddha claim that. Christians claim that. And many other sects and other religions claim that. Because if you don't have a revelation, all you've got is opinions and questions, really. But if you've got a revelation and a certain source, then there's a big question. It's a trust problem. Can I trust this source of revelation? It doesn't matter how it makes you feel. It's a bit like with the internet. If you are dating online and you can't see the person in reality, it's not Zoom or Skype, then all you've got is words and, let's say, pictures that the person sends you. And if you are a 25-year-old girl and you think on the other side is this amazing dude, um, but you don't know. It might be somebody completely else who knows how to talk to you to make you feel in a certain way. So there's a trust issue, and we need to know how, we need to have a way to test the source of revelation. And I will not be able to solve this problem for you. Obviously, I personally trust that uh, there's a reason to trust the person of Jesus. But, at some stage, you need to sit down and compare. But I think, it's not only fun to compare the life and teachings of, let's say, Buddha, Muhammad, and Jesus, but it's also interesting to compare how they died. And here we start narrowing down a little bit on the uniqueness of Jesus and why did Jesus say or had the right to say that I am the only way to the Father. When Buddha died, he was over 80, if I remember correctly, and before he gave out his last breath, he gave a full teaching to his disciples filled with wisdom. Muhammad, after he died, was taken to heaven to Allah on a winged horse. Um, Jesus screamed in agony, my God, why have you forsaken me?" We will come back to the reasons why I believe Christianity is unique and therefore is the only way to find real God. But now I propose we break down the claim almost word by word. The claim is Jesus is the only way to God. So let's talk about Jesus for a moment. Let's talk about what kind of God we might mean. And finally, about the way. Jesus. Uh, Jesus is a historical person. You might be in a camp of doubters and saying that Jesus is a mythical person. Probably, if you claim that, you watched documentary titled Zeitgeist. Well, we don't have time today to dig into that topic. I would encourage you, if Zeitgeist is the only reason why you claim that Jesus is a made up person, uh, go back, read a little bit. Read people who argue differently. You can type in Zeitgeist on Google and see that most of the claims in the movie are made up, unlike Jesus. Well, so let's talk about God. If Jesus is the only way to God, what kind of God are we talking about? Um, well, if we look at the popular pagan religions, then God is usually immanent. He's not transcendent, he's immanent, he's one with the matter, or he's within the universe, he's part of it. He's built up with the same elements. For instance, in the Babylonian myths, heaven and earth were created by god Marduk, and he created heaven and earth from the dead body of another god that he beat up in a battle. He killed him, and from his elements he created heaven and earth, and then from other elements he created humans, because other gods were afraid that, okay, you want us to live on this planet, it looks like a lot of work. And Marduk said, don't you worry, don't you fret, we're going to create slaves who will work the planet for us. And he created humans. Well, we might say that when you say God, you might think about the impersonal force. So your view of God might be heavily influenced by Eastern religions. Buddhism, for instance, you might buy into a lot of very popular new spiritualism that used to be called in 70s New Age, where God is not a person, he's not willing things, he doesn't have emotions, intellect, he's an impersonal force. Christianity is not a way to those kind of gods. So you might argue Jesus is not the only way to God, because if you mean that kind of a God that I just mentioned, well, then you're right. Jesus is not the only way. Jesus is not that way at all to those kind of gods. So when Christians claim Jesus is the only way to God, what we mean by God is a creator, transcendent God who is spirit, who created all the matter. The whole universe that consists of matter and energy was created by non-material first cause, and that is God. That God is personal. Therefore, you and I are also personal. That God is powerful, is loving, and is good. He's a lawgiver. So we talked about Jesus, we talked about God. Let's talk about what could be meant by saying way, that Jesus is the only way, or maybe there are other ways to that kind of God. Every religion, philosophy, uh, way of thinking about reality is pretty much constructed like a ladder, like a stairway to heaven. It tells you, hey, look up. There's the ultimate goal, good. There's goal for your life. There's Odin in Valhalla. There's God in his heaven. Look up there. There are Elysian fields. Um, Now that you've seen that, look here. Here are the steps to climb up there. Here are the 5 pillars of Islam. Here's the eightfold truth of Buddhism. Here are the sacraments you need to partake in order to have enough grace to get to that heaven. Well, Christianity is different. You might say the concept of Christianity, the way that Jesus is completely upside down. Is that construct of a ladder, of a stairway to heaven, but opposite, upside down. It is Christianity is not about climbing up to God or to that heaven, but it's all about that God climbing down to us and doing for us instead of us what we were not able to do. And why? He did it so we, you and I, could be able to know Him and enjoy Him forever. I do understand that this insight into Christianity does completely nothing for the question whether Christianity is true or not. But it does serve one purpose, that Christianity is unique, it's different. Every other religion, all religions or philosophies have this one thing in common: they are constructed like a ladder. They might differ in particulars. What are the steps to climb up to heaven? But they all serve as a ladder. Christianity is not a ladder. Christianity is about God who climbed down to us to do for us what we were not able to do. And that is based on a biblical understanding of the main problem that we have. Luc Ferry, a French philosopher, says that pretty much all philosophies and religions were created to deal with this one main issue. According to him, it's death. And not only death, but the awareness of death. Everything dies. But human beings seem to be the only beings on this planet that not only die, but they know that they will die. And therefore, a question arises: how should one live in the light of the fact that one day I'm gonna die? What kind of diagnosis you agree with when it comes to the main problem with our life, with our planet, is gonna determine how we're gonna understand the word the way in the claim Jesus is the only way to God. Because if you think that the main problem on this planet is a lack of resources, equal access to those resources, then Jesus surely is not the only way, because he does nothing for that problem. If you think that the main problem is lack of education, then surely Jesus is not the only way. But if the main problem is, as Christians claim, that there is the main source of reality, the Creator, who is the person, we call him God, and we are detached from him. We have no access to him. We have no right to come to him. Then Jesus is the only way, because he is the only one who claims that can reconnect us with that God. Not by a way of ladder saying, hey, here are the steps, go ahead, good luck, but by doing for us instead of us what we are not able to do, and therefore introducing us back to God so we can know him and enjoy him forever. So, finishing, one could say that the claim of Christianity is exclusive, but it's not exclusive in an arrogant way, but in a logical way, because the kind of God we talk about is unique for Christianity. The kind of problem that Christianity diagnoses is unique. Our problem is not lack of knowledge or resources. We are disconnected from that God. And therefore, for that kind of God and that kind of salvation, there is this only way, that person. Again, you might not agree with me, but think for a moment with me. What if the way for life, the only truth, and the life itself is a person? Well, then that kind of way of thinking would make it the most egalitarian way of life and salvation. For Stoics in ancient Greece, it was education. That was the way of salvation. That was the way to know God. And therefore, it was restricted for the elites that could afford education. For Vikings, it would be only for those who died valiantly in the battle. Well, if you died in your bed, sorry, amigo. Not like in Hinduism, where you're stuck in a vicious cycle of death and rebirth, and you never know when you're gonna break out of that. And when you do, you just rejoin the big nothingness, impersonal cosmic force. In this view, in Christianity, there is salvation for our soul, for our body, for our relationships, for the planet. Bible claims that the whole planet, the whole creation will be renewed. And our goal in our salvation is not a place like heaven or Valhalla. It is a person, God, who wants to be our Father. No other religion offers a way to God like that, and there is no other salvation like that. And therefore, Jesus is not a mean bodyguard who is blocking other ways to God and saying, it's mine. He is the only way where there was no way before. I know, this does not answer all the aspects of this topic, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, I do not expect you walking away agreeing with me today. But it is my hope and my desire and my ambition that you hopefully walk away thinking, well, this actually makes more sense than I have thought before. Let me dig deeper. Or you might walk away hopefully saying, I don't believe it, but I kind of wish it was truth. Let me go and dig deeper. If I succeeded, then I hope you have access to someone today around you who can discuss those issues with you further and maybe offer additional resources if you like to read. But don't be afraid to ask questions. Look for answers. Let me finish with this quote by Jesus. He said in the Gospel according to Matthew, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Good luck, my friends, and have a wonderful day.
Now, I hope you enjoyed that one today, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed that one, and I think even though we might not have the answers yet or all the answers on the questions we are looking for, I want to encourage you today this is the last part of this series, but nonetheless, I would love to hear what your questions are. So in the comments down below, I want to invite you to drop one of your questions in the comments, and I will try and see if I can address them personally on our channels. So drop them down below. I want to try and see if I can help you actually move along in this journey and see if we can come up with answers together, because one thing that stood out for me through this series is that our faith isn't based on blind faith. Our faith is actually based on evidence, looking at evidence, researching the evidence, and then actually making a logical, conscious decision that yes, Jesus Christ is who he claims he is. And that is a vital point of our faith, and we are supposed to be able to give reason for our faith, logical reason, evidence. So this is what the series has been looking into. So one question in the comments below, I'll see if I can help you answer them and put you along the journey of actually finding those answers. And maybe it's even a question from your friends. I want to invite you to put them in here as well. We are here to help you answer those and to help you on that journey of answering now and bring you one little step closer to actually making a decision or to actually getting to know Jesus. Who knows? Now, I want to pray for you guys. I want to wish you a very, very blessed week. And God, I just pray that today's word, that whatever you want us to remember will just stick with us, that we can actually receive this as seed, as the series was based on our seed step in our discipleship process. I want to pray, Father, that everyone that is on this journey, Lord, that they can take just the next step and that you will give them wisdom and just the passion to actually look for answers and know that they're out there because you wanted yourself to make known to us as God. You wanted us to know you. And Father, it's because of that that we can do a series like that, that we can ask hard questions and know that you want to reveal yourself to us. So God, I bless everyone that's watching this sermon and this talk and has been following in Jesus' name. I want to thank you for sticking with us for the last 5 weeks, and I'm hoping that next week you'll join again. Next week, we're going to do 2 sessions on prayer, spiritual warfare, and the Holy Spirit. Completely different topic because, our faith is not just evidence-based. We believe God is real and that you can have a relationship with him and that he makes himself known to us through his Spirit. So we can actually know God. And this is one of the things we're going to look into next week. It's a very controversial topic, yes, but it's also vital for your faith because we want to do both evidence-based practice and experience-based practice. At least that's how I was raised and taught when I was studying at university. And we want to have the same in our faith life and in our life with God. And even in our, if we're not there yet, if we're still like, I'm not convinced, then, we want to research both angles. So we're going to talk about that next week. Keep posted, stay healthy, and I miss you all dearly, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. Have a nice week.